So I have had a couple of different desk setups over the years. I've went through different stages, everything from a basic, pretty bare bones IKEA desk setup to a much nicer looking desk setup that you have seen in a lot of my videos. And now this very minimal desk, which I guess looks cliche, it's white, you know, everything's pretty much white here, but hey, I like it. But there's a lot that I have learned from these desk setups, and I want to share my top recommendations for the essentials like your desk, your monitor, keyboard, mouse, all of these things. What I would actually get for another desk setup if I were to make one, but with a budget-friendly focus. Most of them. Some are exceptions, which I'll mention, and I'll tell you why they are a bit expensive, but I think they're worth it. But we'll get to that. And this setup actually has a trick up its sleeve, which I have never seen another desk setup do. So we'll get to that as well. So speaking of the desk, it's one of the most important things for any setup. And I have tried both a normal static desk that does not go up or down, and of course also a sit and stand desk. And you guessed it, these I think are the best. And there are a couple of reasons why. One, obviously because you can work while sitting and standing, but I feel like that part is a little bit overrated because 80 to 90% of the times I would say, I'm usually just sitting on a desk. I don't stand too much. But what I think a lot of people don't talk about these desks is how adaptable they are, because us humans are all built differently. Some are shorter, some are taller, right? We're all in different shapes and sizes. And these desks can really adjust to you literally down to the millimeter. At least this one can. That's how precise this is. So this means if you want to be in the most ergonomic position, and maybe you have a chair, you have your leg height set perfectly, but then when you come close to a desk, next thing you know, maybe it's a little too high or maybe it's a little too short, right? And you have to fix that with your chair height, but that will mess up other things, right? With a sit and stand desk, you can just move the desk exactly where you want it to be. And that allows you to have the most ergonomic position. So for me, this is the number one reason to get a sit and stand desk. Now this desk specifically is from FlexiSpot. I believe it's their E6 desk, and this offers an incredible value. My other desk costs a few $1,000s. So when I got this desk, I was not expecting this thing to be even remotely as good as my old desk. But to my surprise, it's just as good, if not better in some ways. So in this exact configuration with this white frame and this white top, this will cost you around $330 at the time of recording this video, which is 1/6 of the price of my other desk, which is just insane to me considering how good it actually is. At this price, I was expecting this desk to be pretty bad. For example, I thought the motors would be really loud, but they're not. I thought its up and down movement would not be smooth at all, but it is. In fact, right before this desk comes to a full stop, it actually slows down significantly and then smoothly just stops instead of stopping right away. I also thought it would not have any smart features like any kind of collision detection, but it does. In fact, it's better than my old desk because you can actually change the sensitivity on this. And of course, it also has all your basic features like your up and down arrow, a sitting and standing position preset button, and 2 other custom preset buttons in case someone else is also using the desk and you want to have their sitting and standing positions or whatever the case may be. The build quality is also very nice. It was also fairly easy and simple to put together. Honestly, there's not much that I don't like about this desk other than I wish it went a little bit more lower because I have it on wheels now, so it's a little bit higher now. I can comfortably recommend this desk. I'll leave links to this and of course all of the products in the video in the description. Check it out. The second thing, however, I feel like is the desk depth is also very important. I used to have a desk that was 24 inches deep, and that I feel like just wasn't enough. Every time I wanted to sit close to the desk, I felt like I came too close to the screen, so it just wasn't a good experience. So I think the ideal depth is between 28 to 30 inches. This desk is 28 inches, my other one's 30, and they're great. Number 3, desk shelves. So before I used one for myself, I used to think they look ugly and I just didn't really understand why would anyone have one on their desk setup. But the day I started using one, my mind completely changed because I realized just how much more space they create on your desk because it literally adds another level for you to keep things on top and keep things below it. It even kind of helps you hide cables and everything. I've been using it on my other desk setup and I absolutely love it. There is a reason why I don't have a desk shelf here, and it will all make sense in a little bit. Now at this point, you have probably noticed this cube looking thing that is on this desk, and this is a Thunderbolt 5 dock from Anker. And this is kind of like the brains of this whole desk setup because everything is sort of getting controlled from here in terms of everything that's connected to my laptop. So this thing has 14 ports, including an HDMI, DisplayPort, USB-C, and USB-A ports, headphone jack, and SD card slots. And the idea is that you can add all of those ports to your laptop or your even Mac Studio or Mac Mini or computer, whatever, with just one USB-C cable. And then you can just connect all your peripherals, your monitors, your speakers, everything, mic, everything into this dock. I think calling this an essential piece for every desk setup might be a bit of a stretch, especially if you have a desktop computer like a Mac Studio, because it already has a lot of these ports. But if you have a laptop, then it is kind of very important. You kind of need one. So I can comfortably recommend this one. And one of the highlight features of this Thunderbolt 5 dock is that it doesn't have a big, bulky power brick. Everything's just built into it, and you just have one simple cable, which is very easy to cable manage. But at $400, it is difficult for me to call it a budget-friendly product. It is quite a bit of money. But if you need it, then it is worth it, I think. Now, speaking of cable management, let me show you what I have done over here. And I'll show you one thing, which is probably the coolest thing you'll see today. So obviously I have the power bar over here, which is connecting everything, including the Thunderbolt 5 dock, the monitor, and even the desk itself. These are all the motors and all the wires for those, the power for that, the controller, everything. It's kind of managed into this frame over here. And then that one wire is coming over here. Everything that's connecting over here is connected to this one cable over here, which is connecting to a power outlet over there. But here's the coolest part. So I use this cable to connect my laptop, and normally when it's not in use, it would just hang like this, which doesn't look the best. So what I actually ended up doing is that I put a magnet on this cable. Let me grab this. So I put a magnet on this cable over here. I should probably just use black tape, but I'm just trying to explain you what I did. Put a magnet over here, and then I put a magnet on the bottom, and then I can just hold it there like so. There you go. Now you cannot see it. It's perfect. Number 5, when it comes to your input devices, especially your mouse, I think there's only one right option, or best option. I would say it's the MX Master 3 or 3S. This is like your go-to mouse for every productivity or work desk setup. It's also not cheap though. At $100 US, it's a lot of money for a mouse. You can definitely find cheaper mice. However, again, I think it's worth every penny. But if this is over your budget, then I would recommend you check out the 2S. It's a little bit cheaper, I think around $70. So that would also be a really good option. It's just a little bit older, that's all. Now for the keyboard on my other desk setup, I have been using the Logitech MX Mechanical Mini, which is a fantastic keyboard, I think. I love how comfortable it is to type on, and I especially like the color. It goes very well with the Logitech desk mat and the mouse and everything I have on my setup. But it's definitely not the best sounding keyboard. So if you need that really, really good sound, this is the one you have to get. This is the Keychron Q2 Max, and it's like one of the best Keychron keyboards you can get right now. I've also had the Q2 Pro before, and the difference between the two is not big, especially in terms of build quality and everything, but the sound is much better over here. The extra money you're paying for this, I think, is worth it. However, again, if this is over your budget, because I wouldn't call this budget friendly either, it's kind of expensive. So if you need something cheaper, you can definitely go with the Q2 Pro and then just customize it yourself however you like, which, especially if you enjoy doing, it's gonna be a much better option. Now, if you are gonna get one of these keyboards or even any other keyboard that is like this, fairly tall, then I would highly recommend you to get a palm rest, because I learned this the hard way. For the desk mat, this one from Logitech is pretty good. I think it's 20-30 bucks. Easy to recommend. The monitor, however, I feel like is where a lot of people spend a lot of money that they don't really need to. I'll give you 3 recommendations for the monitor at different price points. All these monitors would be really good. The 25DS is a 1440p monitor, and it goes up to 100 Hertz. So it's a little bit better than a typical 60 Hertz display, but it's also not 120 Hertz. But you know, it's good enough, I think. And I know what you're thinking. You can probably find better monitors in this price range, but the main thing I was looking for were the bezels. I really like to have very equal bezels all around. So this was the closest thing I could find in that price range. This thing doesn't have a huge chin. But if you don't care about that, you can probably find better options, although I would recommend you not wasting too much money on getting a color accurate monitor, because if you're not doing something that requires you to have a color accurate monitor, then you don't need it. Don't spend that extra money. The other two options are also really good, one of which I have been using for over a year at this point, and I absolutely love it. This one is color accurate because I need it to be color accurate, and it's a 4K display, so it's very sharp. The picture quality is good, and it even has a built-in USB-C hub. So technically, if you don't want to get one of these Thunderbolt 5 docks, you can just get a monitor that has this functionality built in and just connect your laptop to your monitor with one USB-C cable, and that kind of solves the problem. Although I still think getting a USB-C hub is much better because you can use it with different computers. You can, upgrade your computer and still have all that functionality there. The U2725QE is just a newer model. It's 120 Hertz instead of 60 and has a few other upgrades here and there. For the monitor arm, I would say the same thing. You don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't need to spend $300 to $500 on just a monitor arm, unless of course you have one of those really ultra wide heavy monitors, then sure, you kind of have to. The one I have here is around 50 bucks or so. It looks good and it just works. It just gets the job done. Now, the reason why I don't have one of the monitors that I mentioned over here is because I need the monitor over here to be fairly small. This one's 24 inches, although this is not a size that I would recommend you to buy because typically this can be a little too small for normal usage, but here I want it to be small because you might have noticed that this desk also has wheels. So I can actually move this entire setup around in my office here and turn it into 3 different setups. Number one is obviously this, where it's just like a normal setup. I'll have the chair here and anyone can work on it and it goes up and down. It just works like a normal desk. Number 2 is actually just this. I just rolled the desk over here. It took me like a minute to set all of this up. Moved some of the things from the top, moved them actually over here and moved the monitor out of the way. And this is the A-roll set, which you have actually seen many times. And the camera kind of just sits over here. And this is it. This is what you actually see. And number 3 is the B-roll / top-down set. This is what you also see in my videos a lot. And I just rolled the desk over here now because, again, wheels, very nice, love those. And then the monitor is kind of over here. What's nice is that for the top-down angle, if I want, I can just connect this monitor to my camera using the same HDMI cable that's being used. And I can actually monitor my camera feed on this monitor, which is very useful sometimes. And this is where all the B-roll shots are taken, which kind of looks like this. And of course, all of this is only possible because of all the cable management that I have done and this desk having only one cable that powers everything. So this is something I've never seen another desk setup do. This is very specific to my needs, but I hope you got some inspiration out of it. You could potentially use it in a similar way for your needs maybe. But that's all for this video. If you enjoyed watching, consider subscribing and I'll see you later.